How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a minute, like 2 week or two, something like that. Who knows the time anymore? I barely even know what day it is. Um, this is, I believe, episode 11. I redid all the titles for the videos, so I believe we're on episode 11. Hopefully, so I don't have to comment under the video. But I think we're on episode 11. And this one, Dylan and I are going to recap free agency. Obviously, there's still some well, most of the decent guys are gone. There's still some names out there, but obviously we're like a week into free agency now, so all the big names pretty much are off the market. So we are going to recap that pretty much, just talk about free agency. Um, so I guess a good starting point is obviously I'm a Pats fan. Dylan's a Giants fan, unfortunately. Um, I guess we'll start with my team, the Pats. So I am very happy with. Okay, man. Yeah, very happy with how my team handled free agency. Is it perfect? No. Ideally, I would have liked to have gotten a top tier receiver. Apparently, we offered Godwin like 30 mil. He took a pay cut to be with the Bucs, which I don't blame him. The weather obviously is far better in Tampa than New England, and then B, obviously he's familiar with the Bucs. So, instead of questions going up here, even though I think we're going to be good next year, so I don't blame Godwin there. Obviously, the big one, Milton Williams. I was pissed off at first, disheartened, 'cause all the reports earlier were saying he signed with the Panthers, and then out of nowhere, just we got Milton Williams. We probably overpaid a tad bit, but to get a guy like that, it's worth it. Especially with the Panthers, looked like they were going to sign him, so we probably had to outbid them a bit. Um, so obviously he was the big one. Harold Landry, I think that's a good signing. Obviously, former Titan with Mike Vrabel, I think he is a good scheme fit for us. Obviously, Vrabel is with us now. Robert Spillane, I like that signing too. Basically, most of our signings are big ones, at least, were on defense, which our defense was not good last year, but it's not, well, it was good through points fit, but defense, we kept signing things like linebackers, Carlton Davis. I like that signing. We definitely overpaid for him, but I like that signing. Like corner, for example, and like linebacker are not like our two top needs. So I'm like, all right, I like the signings, but would have maybe preferred we got a receiver over them. But our defense on paper is actually kind of stacked next year, so I'm very optimistic about our defense. Signed like two linemen. Morgan Moses is the big name of the two. Then we got Mac Hollins. So obviously he actually had a decent year in the Bills last year, but not, like a superstar receiver. I wanted Darius Slate. I didn't even know the Giants re-signed him until I saw a meme that they offered him more than Saquon. Um, but yeah, I'm obviously we're gonna, I assume, try to get Travis Hunter, have him play receiver in the draft. I assume is where we're going. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my team's free agency.
So it's funny you said that actually, because I agree with you. I think they're going to go Hunter. I think they've been targeting Hunter. Um, I think if we're going to recap, I think Milton Williams, I mean, just to steal him from the Panthers like that is incredible. I mean, you had to pay a little bit more for him, but you have to do what you got to do to bring people to New England. He was regarded as probably one of the best free agents in this class. So a lot of people were really trying to get him to come to their team. And 26 million, I mean, that's going to be hard for me to even turn down. So, I
Yeah.
mean, he was the top D tackle in the class there, and he signed good with you guys. So, 26 going to him a year per average. Uh, Robert Spillane, I mean, a tackle machine, right? So he could really just set the tone with his defensive presence. Good at stopping the run. We'll see how he is in the pass game for you guys this year. Harold Landry, I think this is one of the best value signings. I think Harold Landry is a very underrated player. And I think the fact that continuity with Vrabel and Harold Landry is a very good mix there. I think you know what you're getting when you get a guy like that. They're very solidified stud. Carlton Davis, I was not high on him coming into free agency, but I mean, you definitely overpaid for him. But to if Vrabel has a plan for him, and for the scheme, and if he sees something in Carlton Davis that other people, you know, wanted to, but he overpaid for him. I mean, you got to adjust from the scheme. So Vrabel probably wanted that to happen, and that's a good signing for him. Um, I think who was the other? Mac Hollins, really good underrated signing. I think 4 million for a guy who had a decent year last year compared to the market that was going this year. I think that's a good spot for him. I'm missing one. Who was the other one?
Um,
Davis, Milton.
oh, Morgan Moses.
Morgan Moses. I hated this signing actually. I'm not a big fan of Morgan Moses. He was on the Redskins when they were the Redskins, and I didn't really like him. I know he's 34 years old. I know Carlton Davis is like 31. All your guys are over 30 years old, which is pretty crazy compared to a team that they were saying was rebuilding.
Mhm.
Um, the difference with the Patriots and the Giants, I loved what we did in free agency, right? If you see what the timeline of our team has been, it's very young, right? So instead of going with the older route like you guys did, like attacking guys like Carlton Davis, maybe attacking guys like DJ Reed, we actually attacked the guy. We attacked Paulson Adebo, who is the Saints cornerback and probably I would say probably top 20 corner before he broke his leg or broke his fibula or something last year. I think he's probably a top 15, top 20 corner. We could have Banks play CB2, in which he struggled huge last year in coverage. So I think that fits him better. We also signed a the swing tackle from the Browns, 6 million. I think we overpaid for him, but I think we have to pull somebody around to help out Evan Neal and just get him out of there, just put him in a guard. I think that's our plan this year. I would love to see us attack guard, but I don't think we're going to in this period because I think we're going to move Evan Neal to guard. John Michael Schmitz is good with the holding down the center position. I will say I love the Darius Slayton signing. A lot of people did not like that, especially from the Giants point of view. At the end of the day, I mean, I saw Tutu Atwell. I don't even know if he has a career touchdown, and he has $10 million on his contract for 1 year. We saw Joshua Palmer get 12.5, the same exact contract as Slayton. I mean, he's been playing in, the best situation with Justin Herbert. I think if you look at Darius Slayton, he's gone through however many quarterbacks now. I think right now he's been in a very bad situation playing the wide receiver one his whole entire career besides last year. And when he played wide receiver one last year against the Seahawks, he actually did really good. He put up 124 yards. So I think he's a very good solidified veteran for a team who's been on our team through absolute dog shits of years. But it says something about Slayton coming to back to New York for that presence. So I really like Slayton coming back. Um, Another big one that we signed, of course, was Javon Holland. And Javon Holland is incredible safety, right? Really good. He kind of dropped off a little bit last year, but I think that entire Dolphins team dropped off last year. I mean, I think people forget last year they lost Christian Wilkins. I think they lost Phillips again this year. I mean, he cannot stay healthy. So, I mean, that takes a toll on the defense on the back end. So it makes them look a little bit worse than what they are. So stats are kind of misleading when it comes to that Dolphins defense. Javon Holland, he's a stud, right? And imagine Javon Holland and you put him behind Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, these guys are just destined for a breakout this year. So I think upgrading that secondary was really crucial to next year in a situation next year where we have a really hard schedule. So I think Javon Holland is a very good safety, really great pickup. We paid 15.3 million that year. I know everybody's saying, oh, it was Xavier McKinney reincarnated kind of, but Xavier McKinney didn't want to be a Giant. He didn't want to re-sign with us. He wanted to go somewhere else because Wink Martindale kind of ruined him here. So we decided to sign Javon Holland, and we got a third round comp pick for Xavier McKinney leaving. So I think a lot of people don't understand that either. Is we actually, in reality, we got Javon Holland and a third round pick, and we let Xavier McKinney walk, right? Um, I'm pretty confused with how they're going to incorporate Bobby Okereke. I saw some rumors that they're looking to trade him. I hope we do not trade him. He played incredible every single time he's been here, every single game he's been here. And he's just a solidified guy who doesn't get hurt, which is nice, knock on wood. But he's just a veteran presence. He's been there through everything as well for the last 2 years. And I'm interested to see where we go in the draft. What it seems like is with how these veteran quarterbacks are lining up right now, it seems like the entire quarterback class is waiting for Aaron Rodgers to make his decision. And I mean, we say this, you just said this before we started, but I mean, it really is like the Aaron Rodgers show, right? I mean, he's probably going to make his decision on the freaking Pat McAfee show like LeBron did on TV when he made his decision to move down to Miami. I mean, it's going to be a entire thing. All the attention is going to be on Aaron Rodgers. The second Aaron Rodgers signs, you're probably going to see a whole bunch of other quarterbacks signing like Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson. You're going to see all these other free agents, trying to sign and go somewhere. So, um, I think if we get a veteran quarterback, it's going to be Russell Wilson, is my guess, just because I think he wants something new away from the Steelers. I think the Steelers kind of ruined him, his, momentum and all of his, I would say, like mental ability to even want to go back there. Like, the fans don't want you there. They're looking at Rodgers. So, I mean, I'm very interested to see how this happens. But I think in the draft that we are probably going to go Shadur Sanders. I do not think we're going to take Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's going to go number one, and it's all up to the Browns at number two. I'm very, it's very scary as a Giants fan now. Like we held the number one pick before the Colts game. So I mean, we had the number one pick, and now we want to trade back up to the first overall pick. I mean, it's just not sustainable. And I think we're going to end up either missing out on a quarterback or being forced to take Shadur Sanders. And if we don't like Shadur Sanders and he's the only quarterback on the board, I don't think we're going to take Dart at three. I don't think we're going to take Milrow at three. And I don't think we're going to take Howard at three either. But I also said I don't think we're going to take Daniel Jones at six, and look what happened there. So I think we're going to take Shadur. I will say that I think our backup plan is probably either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. Um, if we do not get one of those guys, I'm very shocked about like what we're doing. I think if we trade back, it'd be kind of risky to trade back and kind of buff up any other part of that team. I think quarterback is the biggest glaring hole right now, and if we get that solved temporarily with a veteran, I think that's fine. Um, but it depends who it is, and it's the Aaron Rodgers show in free agency to now this year. So I know I
Yeah.
threw a lot out there. I know I threw a lot out there, but that was my recap about that. So
No, I love it. I love it. I actually, as you were like literally the second you said Aaron Rodgers, I get a notification. Aaron Rodgers could drag out his decision through the draft week. Like, bro, all right, so I've never been a big Rodgers fan. I've always respected Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. People that put him in the GO conversation is absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. But he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But his like how he handles himself. He's just such an attention seeker. And like I like Skip Bayless. Like I know Skip Bayless gets a lot of shit. I actually like Skip Bayless because I agree with a lot of his takes. But I'm a big Tom Brady guy. I hate LeBron. That's Skip Bayless. So that's a big reason why I like Skip Bayless. But he called Aaron Rodgers like a blame deflecting, like finger pointing diva. That I think is a great summary of Aaron Rodgers. Like you cannot tell me he's not trying to get the attention on himself. I mean, it looked like he was going to go to the Giants last week. Now, then the Vikings popped up, then the Steelers. It's like you said, teams or players are just waiting for Aaron Rodgers to sign. Because obviously, if he sign wherever he signs, he's going to start. Unless the Vikings, you can maybe make that argument, but I don't think he's going to willingly sign to back up JJ McCarthy. So it's like the guys that are still in the market, they're quarterbacks and want a chance to start. Pretty much just have to wait for Rodgers, and then yeah, Russell Wilson. I see Russell Wilson at least like visiting teams. Aaron Rodgers just like friggin' chilling out on the beach, just doing whatever. But would you want Aaron Rodgers on your team?
yes, the reason why I'm going to say yes, right, is I understand he's older, but if you look at what he did with Jordan Love. This wasn't a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers kind of deal, right? This was actually a very different scenario in which Jordan Love, after Aaron Rodgers was there with and basically mentored him, took him under his wing. The second he mentored him, he got his max contract the next year, right? So I think Aaron Rodgers is probably a great mentor, great IQ of the game, but I think that his arrogance right now, it's sad, right? And I'm so sick of it, and I think right now, I think see for us, I want Rodgers, right? But I don't think there's any way that Rodgers would want to choose the Giants over the Steelers, over whoever, right? Because here's the thing: is if we get Rodgers, Rodgers would only be here for probably 1 year, where in which the Steelers, he'd be there for more than 1 year, right? Because we would draft a rookie, we'd have a rookie under his wing. So it'd be a better scenario and situation for him to actually go to the Steelers because, I mean, they're in purgatory. I mean, everybody's saying that. So if they think Rodgers is going to take him over the hump, then maybe. But I mean, I'm just not a I don't like this game that he's playing. I didn't mind it at first because I thought he was going to make his decision in the first 72 hours of free agency when that started. But he's dragging it along. And the fact that you just told me that he might even go through the draft process without a court, like, no, I don't know who you think you are. You're 41 years old. Just it's just ridiculous. So I want Russell Wilson. I think he's the next best alternative to our quarterback situation. And I mean, so far, Russell Wilson, looks pretty good too, because Justin Fields got a crazy contract from the Jets, of course, which I don't know how. But I mean, Justin Fields got paid. I would like to see Russell Wilson be a New York Giant, and I think a fair price. I mean, if we had, because apparently we had a really good meeting with him on Friday, so I think a good fair price is somewhere in the ballpark. It's hard because Rodgers would probably command a little bit more than everybody else, right? I know Darnold got 33 million this year. Um, Gino got, I don't know what Gino got. I think he got like 30, 33, 2, 35, somewhere around there.
I think, yeah,
I know he got traded, but I don't know if he got extended or not. But I know Darnold got 33. So he kind of sets the market a little bit. So if he sets the market at 33 and who's probably the best quarterback out there, I would probably say Rodgers is probably going to command like 28 to 30 million on the open market. So Russell Wilson, I could say probably is worth 27 million for 2 years, something like that. Just if Justin Fields can get $20 million for 2 years, I think Russell Wilson can get somewhere with 27, 28 million. He can probably even get away with 30 if we really wanted to. But especially the teams that are desperate out there. I think another guy that's going to take more than expected money that people aren't talking about is Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston can also command somewhere around a little bit more than 20 million. His situation with the Browns was kind of dog shit, and he kind of outplayed the $50 million quarterback that they had previously. So, I mean, Jameis Winston, if you put him in a good scenario, I still think there's talent there. I mean, he was a number one overall two. I think he was the second one in the Mariota draft. But
I think he was one. I think Mariota was two. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Winston one, Mariota two. Not that it matters.
yeah, I
Keep
mean,
going, keep going.
yeah, I mean, it seems like he got his attitude, I mean, kind of fixed up a little bit. He's kind of just turned into like a walking preacher. But I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, I will say that I like how Jameis Winston plays. He's very aggressive, and I think at Brian Dable's offense, he would actually be pretty good. I think Russell Wilson would probably be a better decision maker, and I think he would be better under a rookie quarterback. So I really like Russell Wilson's approach to the game, and I think he'd be a great mentor. So I'd probably really go all in on Russell Wilson right now. When free agency started, I was all over Rodgers because it would be a fun year just to see Aaron Rodgers on the New York Giants, like a guy who I've been watching since I mean, oh my gosh, like, 7 years old, 8 years old, on the Packers. Grow up and now currently I want to see him on the Giants. But I think it's a long shot. So I'm gonna say Russell Wilson, and I know Russell Wilson's younger, and went to the Super Bowls. So I think that experience is very valuable to a rookie quarterback coming into a new situation.
yeah. Everyone's. It seems like everyone's just ripping Rodgers. Everyone's saying he's washed. Obviously, last year was a complete disaster for the Jets. Rodgers, I actually don't think played as bad last year as like a lot of people think. Like he definitely had some games like that second Bills game. It was like Jesus Christ, like this guy like retire and then pull like a Vontez Davis and retire at halftime. They were playing so bad, but like he actually didn't play as bad like as a lot of people thought. I think he had a couple good games, especially at the end of the year. He had a couple good games too. I think Rodgers is again just him dragging out is ridiculous, but I think Aaron Rodgers, the player, and the only three teams in on it right now are Giants, Steelers, Vikings. I think he would be a perfect fit on both the Vikings and Steelers. Obviously, Kevin O'Connell is a QB whisperer. We just saw what he did with Sam Darnold. So, can you imagine what he's going to do with Aaron Rodgers now? Even though, again, Rodgers, I don't want to say he's washed, but obviously he's not as good as he used to be. Steelers, I think he's a great fit on that team too. Um, the only problem with Rodgers, I guess, is it's just kind of a band-aid solution. But I guess if you're the Vikings, obviously they have McCarthy, so that's not really an issue. And again, the Giants, that would be interesting, I think. I mean, I think he'd definitely be better than Daniel Jones was.
I agree. I
No
agree.
offense to Daniel Jones. Him and Richardson on the Colts. What a QB competition that is. Um, yeah, I think on the ideally, if I'm Rodgers, I think at least schematically scheme fit, Minnesota's one. I honestly think the Vikings would be Super Bowl contenders if Rodgers goes to them. Vikings they've improved dramatically in free agency too. Again, the Steelers, I think that'd be a really good fit. Um, and then yeah, the Giants. No offense, but I'm not too optimistic about the Giants, at least in terms of winning next year. I think I do not think he'd be a great fit, at least for a single year on the Giants, but I can definitely see why you would want him. Because, just with his attitude, it seems like he wouldn't be the type to mentor. But obviously, Jordan Love, he did something right because Jordan Love's been, even though he's kind of gets knocked for being inconsistent, Jordan Love, he got paid that, whatever he got paid, that insane contract a year ago. So, yeah, Rodgers, I just wish he would friggin' make his mind up for Christ's sake. Because if he waits till the draft week and then that screws with the team's draft strategies too. Because like the Giants, obviously they're looking at they're going to need to draft the quarterback if Rodgers doesn't go there, unless they want to sign like Winston to be a bridge or something. I think Winston would actually be a decent fit. He would definitely turn the ball over and like make Dayball want to like just like lose his mind. Yeah, you put it good. I think you said Winston would probably be like the more fun, like more explosive quarterback, but Russell Wilson would probably be the better decision maker. I think that's a good way to put it. And Russell Wilson, I think, is a good fit for what seems like the only team that's in on him. Well, the Giants and the Browns too, but no, the Browns and that Watson contract's just a disaster. I think he'd be a good fit there too.
Yeah, I also don't think that Russell Wilson wants to go to the Browns. I think he had a good conversation with the Giants. I think everybody's literally just waiting for Aaron Rodgers to make his decision. And I think he even wants to see where Aaron Rodgers goes because then he can just adjust accordingly. Because, I mean, let's say Aaron Rodgers takes the Brett Favre approach and goes to the Vikings. What better organization knows Aaron Rodgers better than the Vikings, right? They played him 2 times a year for however many years he's been in the league, right? Um, the Vikings, if they somehow get Rodgers, it's going to be the Aaron Rodgers division show. It's going to be like him versus the Bears again will be like a primetime game. Him versus the Packers, I can only imagine on a Sunday night game with that going on. His return to Lambeau with all that. I mean, it's going to be an absolute, shit show, honestly. I mean, that entire division is just going to be Aaron Rodgers and everybody else, basically, right? Um, I think I think what we said pretty much is true. I think Russell Wilson will probably end up going to the Giants. I think it's more realistic. If there is if there's no option, right? Let's say Russell Wilson goes to the I don't know, goes back to the Steelers, and Aaron Rodgers goes to the Vikings, and Joe Flacco goes to the Browns again, or something like that, right? And Winston goes somewhere else. Who knows, right? I think the best thing we could do is trade for somebody. And I don't even know what we would do. I think we would probably have to give up our first round, third overall pick for a quarterback, which, if you think about it, wouldn't be a bad idea if this quarterback draft class sucks, right? So, and our biggest glaring need is quarterback if we aren't going to start Tommy DeVito, right? So that's the thing is, do we? I think a lot. I don't know if Drew Lock got signed yet, but I mean, Drew Lock's another guy that we haven't even talked about either. So I think the best situation would be to trade for, somebody. And I don't know who that would be, right? I don't think there's a lot of quarterbacks open on the market for an open trade. I know the Jaguars already shut down Trevor Lawrence. But I know the Rams shut down Stafford already. So I don't know. I think it's weird because this is literally Aaron Rodgers versus everybody else. And I don't know how much money we would want to give to, a guy like Flacco, a guy like Winston. I don't know what that market would be for them. So I don't know. It's really just sit back, wait and watch. Everything else, I mean, every other position is pretty much is filled except quarterback for every team. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers just always making it about himself. The Darnold went to the Seahawks. So the Vikings, even before the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, were in a weird spot with the quarterback because it's like they're gonna re-sign Darnold, and then it's like, well, then JJ McCarthy, they drafted him, who was supposed to start, and the only reason Darnold did is because JJ McCarthy got hurt. Then they let him go. It's like, all right, JJ looks like the clear starter. Now it's like it's Rodgers going there, so they're in a weird. Poor JJ McCarthy is probably freaking losing his mind over there. But yeah, Darnold to the Seahawks and Gino to the Raiders. So that kind of came out of nowhere. It looked like the Seahawks were just content with Gino, and then just out of nowhere the Raiders signed him. I was waiting for the meme where it's like all he did was step back, like the Darnold comparing Darnold to Gino. And yeah, it's one of the memes, like it's the guy with like holding up, he has a brown shirt on, it's like holding a brown shirt. It's like going from Gino to Darnold, and I'm like, to me, it's like those two are like very similar in skill. So it's like it's the Seahawks basically just signed like kind of a young Geno, obviously not completely similar place. So I would say they kind of signed like a young Geno Smith. And I'm not completely sold on Darnold, but Seattle seems to have that effect where it's like they could have like a high school quarterback start for them and they'll somehow get like decent production out of them. The interesting part is they obviously traded Metcalf to the Steelers, and then they let Lockett go. So it's like, who the hell is he going to throw the ball to? And then they signed Cooper Kupp, which Seahawks weren't even anywhere in the rumored conversation. They just signed him out of nowhere. It's like, okay, so now him, JSN, that seems like a solid combo. But yeah, Darnold to the Seahawks. Yeah, I again not too high on Darnold. I guess they got him at a decent contract value compared to the other quarterback contracts. Gino, I'm not a big Gino guy. I think the Raiders will probably next year maybe be a bit better than they were this year, but with Gino, I think they'll probably be like a 5 to 7-ish win team. Plus the Raiders have been awful this free agency, I think. But yeah,
Yeah, so I actually agree with you. I think the Raiders lost a lot of that defense. You look at Trayvon Morgan, you just signed Spillane. They have guys that are just literally getting out of, that room. And so Geno Smith on that offense, along with, you know, I don't even know who's on that
yeah.
wide receiver
I
room.
mean,
Really,
no one really.
nobody, right? However, that offensive line is really young and looking pretty good this year. So I think the offensive line is younger and it's looking better this year. I think it was that new center they got from the draft. I forgot what his name was, but he's been really good last year. I saw him. Gino, I mean, I think he requested a trade out of Seattle after I think Metcalf and Lockett were gone. So
Yeah,
I think he wasn't very
yeah.
happy. Yeah. So
I
I think
don't
that
blame him.
I don't blame him either. I mean, Donald went to Seattle. I want to talk about that Cooper Cup contract. So he signed for a 3-year, $45 million deal, 15 per year. Is that correct? Is that
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's 15 a year. So I think that's right.
now I mean, that's wide receiver two money, I would say. That's pretty good money, right? I mean, they got him for a good value. So they better make sure they incorporate him into that offense, right? You sign him for $15 million a year. That's it's decent money. I know Devontae Adams probably led everything with $20 million, I think, per year from the wide receiver room. Um, so, I mean, I like it. I like how they got good value for Cooper Kupp. He wanted 15 million coming into the free agency when he got cut. So I think that's good. I am very shocked that the Patriots weren't more aggressive actually for a number one. And I think you could agree with me here. I actually think that for Drake May, I don't know if you guys expected like a trade for T. Higgins or something or what, but I know that T. Higgins just got signed to a big contract for 4 years, and I just saw Jamar did too. So they got that deal done. I am very shocked about like the aggressiveness because you guys attacked that defense heavily, right? But that there was always a glaring hole at wide receiver, and I don't know if they trust like these upcoming guys or they just want to see what they have in this receiver room. But I mean, I would say, the only guy that you guys signed was really Mac Hollins, as like
Yeah.
another depth piece, right? But he's not a solidified anything really. Um, I would say to get that number one receiver, are you looking, how much are you willing to give up, right? Are you looking for like a guy like Ayuk maybe who's, maybe to look on the move? Are you looking for, I mean, I had a lot of Patriots fans saying they wanted Metcalf. He got traded to the Steelers for a second. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you want like I mean, obviously I think you know that receiver's probably the biggest glaring hole, and Drake May in his second year would probably benefit from having a number one option. So what do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I wanted Cup. A lot of it seemed like the fan bases it was probably like a 60-40 split, at least from what I saw, of like 60% like wanted Cup, like then, a decent amount of them like, wanted him to sign elsewhere. It just again, he's been injured the past couple years, he's getting older, so those are the main concerns. But it's like at this point, it's like I mean, we needed number one, a Godwin's gone. Higgins, this is before he signed last night, but he was tagged, so he was, we knew he wasn't gonna, play for us. Devontae Adams went to the Rams. It's like besides, I guess Stephon Diggs is like the biggest wide receiver name that still hasn't been signed. It's Amari Cooper too, but I want to stay away from Amari Cooper. Um, just too way too disappointing, inconsistent last year, pretty much for me. But yeah, I wanted Cooper Cup. I think he could have been really good. Again, we got Josh McDaniels and Cooper Cup runs he reminds me of Edelman a bit with the routes he runs, kind of just crafty, like innovative routes. He would have been similar to Edelman, I think, play style wise for us. So I thought that would have been a really good fit. And only for 15 mil, we spent a bunch of money, but we still could have afforded him. And I'm going to go on a rant here. You mentioned getting Drake May a wide receiver one in year two. That to me, year two for a young quarterback is like the arguably the most important year. You take a couple examples. Tua year two, they get him Waddle. He took a big leap up. Jalen Hurts probably, well, I guess it was his third year in the league, but really his second full year starting took a massive leap up. Eagles are in the Super Bowl that year. Hurts was an MVP candidate that year. Then obviously Tua got Tyreek Hill, took a massive step up from when he got Waddle. Josh Allen got Diggs, took a massive leap up. And we completely failed Mac Jones. Mac Jones' his second year, we have not only Matt Patricia, a defensive coordinator, coordinating the offense, we don't get him. Devontae Parker was our top receiver that year, him and Nelson Aguilar. And then our offensive line was a mess. So I don't think it's going to be the same thing with Drake May. I think Drake May is way better than Mac Jones. And I think our receiving core is, I don't know. I would have liked Cup. I would have liked Cup. I just hope we get a number one receiver. I guess Travis Hunter is I guess who I'm hoping for. But even if we don't, I think our offense will be like mid next season still. Because that's kind of how our offense has always been. We've never really had like a top tier guy, except like Randy Moss, I guess is an exception. Obviously Gronk. I guess tight end we had Gronk for a while. But like wide receiver, we haven't really had like a wide receiver one like superstar with the exception of Moss. And we've always been good offensively. Obviously, we had Tom Brady, so that helped significantly. But our mantra is just kind of get like wide receiver two and three is like solid guys, not superstars. and somehow we're productive. So it looks like that's how we're approaching next year too. But to answer your question in my tangent, I would have liked Cooper Cup, but I'm not gonna, lose sleep over not signing him. I also am not gonna lose sleep over not signing Metcalf. I would have, if we would have got Metcalf, I would have been okay with it. Well, not okay. I would have been excited about it. But when we didn't, you texted me like, "Are you a piss?" And I'm like, honestly, not really, because he has some character concerns. He kind of, you know, can be tempers can get the better of him. It's him and Pickens. That'll be quite the show with the tempers flying there. And yeah, so I wasn't too upset with Metcalf. But yes, sorry. I'm gonna end my tangent. Yes, I would have liked Cooper Cup. Third question.
Yeah, I know a lot of people also are talking about Tataroa McMillan from the draft out of Arizona. Here's the thing is as I look upon this draft, there's no really solidified number one wide receiver in my opinion. I think Travis Hunter is probably the best receiver in this class, and he declared as a corner. That's how crazy I think Travis Hunter is. I think he's a very good wide receiver, but he's in a very elite corner with those ball skills. I have said that for a while. I said Travis Hunter is, I mean, he's the best wide receiver in this class, which is insane to me, right? He's the best wide receiver and a good corner in this draft. So it's and I'm talking about the ranks, right? I'm talking about the weakness and the strengths of this class. I would say the first like 3, 4 corners in this draft are probably going to go high, and then after that, there's a huge drop off of in talent. Same thing with the wide receivers. There's probably one wide receiver, and that's Travis Hunter, and everybody else is really just dropped off. I don't think Ted Rowe is going to fulfill that number one wide receiver role. I see we have less than a minute, so I'll probably get cut off soon. But well, McMillan, Luther Burden, those two guys, eh, you know, I think Travis Hunter is the solidified number one wide receiver here.